Our city, the city we call home, Indianapolis, is a safer, stronger, and more secure community today than it was yesterday, due in no small measure because of the work of the people that I stand with this afternoon. As we all know and appreciate, collaboration is key to the reduction of violent crime in our city. And the men, women, and children of Indianapolis deserve to feel safe in their neighborhoods, which is why we remain focused on the bad actors who seek to disturb our community through crime and violence. This is not the first time we've stood together touting progress, and I promise you, it will not be our last. For we are better equipped than ever to rid our city of crime, and that's because officials at the federal, state, and local level have continued to coordinate for the protection of the people who call our community home. We will continue to do so as it is in our collective power to make each day here in Indianapolis safer than the last. And just as the challenges will not cease, and those challenges will not cease, neither will we. For together, we seek to build a better tomorrow. It's my pleasure and honor to introduce Chad Connect, Chief. Please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. First of all, I wanted to thank the mayor because of the words that he used, collaboration. With mayor's support going on from the direction of Chief Roach, the support that we received from the mayor and the direction from the chief of police and returning to community policing, going back to beat policing is why this collaboration exists. And as you see the teams up here with us, it's no mistake, no accident that you look at here at the collaboration that went into this effort and goes into truly policing for our neighborhoods. Those district resource councils, that 100% engagement, where we're talking to the communities and talking to those neighborhoods, we're going into those areas that we have seen the spikes in the violent crime, and we see those areas and those people who really need our help the most. And the collaboration between state, local, federal law enforcement, both at the operational and prosecutorial level, and hearing those communities and hearing their cries for help, getting their collaboration in that laser-like focus on what's driving the crime and the disorder in those neighborhoods, and then us coming together as a collaborative team, bringing the knowledge, skills, abilities, and resources from all those agencies together to address those issues and concerns, offering the help where it's needed, where it's wanted, and then also that enforcement with that laser-like focus on those who are driving the violent crime in the neighborhoods to make sure and police for those neighborhoods, make sure that they understand we want you to be safe in your neighborhood, and your neighborhood is yours, and we're going to help you make that a safe neighborhood, a safe place to live, raise your family, grow, and be a part of Indianapolis, and be a part of our communities. Part of that today was a collaboration between the Indiana State Police, IMPD, the Marion County Sheriff's Office, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Marion County Prosecutor's Office, the United States Attorney's Office, as well as our community corrections, probation, and parole teams. This Operation Vader, the violence and drug enforcement response, codenamed Operation Vader, focused on, with a laser-like focus on one of those areas that was plighted with violent crime earlier in the year, and we knew we had to take some aggressive actions on the law enforcement side to try and reestablish security of that neighborhood, and this collaboration provided that through surveillance, undercover buys, and then the targeting of those who are driving the violence in these neighborhoods. I'll let those who are operationally involved discuss the actual tactics and the results of that, but I want to tell you that this was a collaboration for Indianapolis, and it's one of many. You've already seen several earlier this year, and you'll continue to see that laser-like focus and collaboration with all of our partners and agencies to make sure that our communities are safe. And I want to thank the mayor and our federal partners for assisting us in that, and we'll continue to grow and make our neighborhoods safe.
Good afternoon. My name is Greg Massa. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the FBI here in Indianapolis. My job is to help lead and manage all federal criminal violations throughout the state of Indiana. I'm joined by Ed Wheely, who's our supervisor and leader of our Safe Streets Task Force. It's comprised of the agencies represented up here today. I just have three messages to share with you before I turn it over to Supervisor Wheely to talk about some of the results. My first message is to my partners that stand beside me. We're not going anywhere. The Bureau is committed to doing what we can and do our part to fight violent crime. Violent crime is a hyper-localized problem, but the countering violent crime does not have to be. As the mayor and Chief Connect said, it can be combated, and it's more effectively combated when we partner together day in and day out. As SSA Wheelie and his team and the men and women that work for us every day in, day out, night after night, they're on the streets keeping it safe. And so in my Bureau career, I've been in New York City, I've been in Washington, D.C., I've been in 8 different countries, and I can say, in my experiences, there is no finer group of law enforcement officials who do their jobs as professionally, as thoroughly, and as enthusiastically as you can see. So I'm so humbled and proud to be a part of this group here today. My second message is for the citizens of the East District that in the neighborhoods that we were out in over the last couple of weeks. We're not going anywhere. When we went out this morning and people are there, hopefully they take pause and know that when they go to bed at night and they get up in the morning, they don't have to be afraid that the thin blue line is there. It's a little bit thicker today, protecting them from those that mean to do us harm. And my final point, my final message is to those who continue to deal in drugs or continue to rob or continue to resolve their conflicts by violence and continue to use guns to do so. We're not going anywhere. As Deputy Chief Connect said, we had many of these operations last year. I'm looking forward to the next one. And there's no place to run. There's no place to hide. We will do everything we can as a joint team to bring you to justice. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Ed. Thanks.
I know we've thanked the other agencies involved, but I'd like to definitely draw attention to the East District Narcotics team and Flex team. They've been out with us every night for the last 4 or 5 weeks. Great group of officers to work with, hardworking people, and it's been our pleasure to work with them and a privilege to work with them. Additionally, this case was supported by the Indiana State Police and the Marion County Sheriff's Department, but it was also supported heavily by the United States Attorney's Office and the Marion County Prosecutor's Office, so thank you to those partners as well. As far as the numbers, and I think you have them, we ended up making 12 arrests today. We seized 3 guns. We seized about 70 grams of marijuana and about 4 grams of cocaine. And a lot of you may ask yourself, well, gosh, usually we're up here talking about kilograms and pounds of methamphetamine, higher amounts. That's not what Operation Vader was about. This is a violence reduction technique. And the message to individuals in this community that are going to deal drugs and be in possession of firearms, we're going to target you. And it doesn't matter if you're dealing half grams of marijuana. We're still coming after you. We're going to use federal resources to do whatever it takes to make this community safer. Thank you.
Questions?
Especially for Chad and for Roger, was any of this aimed at trying to solve or reduce the violence of the 42 and post where you had murders and so many aggravated assaults, especially in the month of January?
So I'll let Roger talk specifically about the East District. This is the district that he's charged with being responsible for, and from being out here in the past and working, we know there are certain areas where there's more violence at times, and certainly those areas that blip onto that radar. We're a data-driven, intelligence-led police department. We're community engaged and involved, and it's how do you build that intelligence from the input of those communities that are coming to us saying, you're providing this resource, you're providing this resource, but we need help on this. And that's where our focus goes. And there were violent crimes there late last year and early this year, and certainly that drew some of our attention. And then this group of people here, the collaboration you saw here, and as Ed spoke, this wasn't about large seizures. This was a laser-like focus on those who were driving the violence in the neighborhood that needed help at that moment. And that did involve the Zone 70, 42nd Post area, and some of those coming and going from that area that may live in other parts of the city. Commander?
So before this effort got underway, to your comments about a specific geographic area and what the chief said, we've already been partnering together, and the efforts to put these partnerships together predated the things that happened in the area of 42nd and Post, specifically in the month of January. So it more than anything, it steeled us to be able to go forward and really have a direct impact on that, as well as any other areas of Indianapolis or East District specifically, where the problems cropped up based upon our intelligence and based upon what the community told us about, the problems that they were experiencing as well.
At 42 and Post, have you seen a reduction from the violent month of January? And is that because you've had more enforcement, taking those people off the streets, or they're lying low because you flooded that area?
As far as the exact answers for all that, I don't know. What I can say is that there has not been another homicide in the area of 42nd and Post since January 21st. And so we had put a lot of efforts into that area, high visibility patrols, not only with our own East District police officers who ordinarily patrol that area, but also with some of our partners. The Sheriff's Department Reserve section was pivotal in helping to provide some of those high visibility patrols, as well as the Indiana State Police, as well as the Lawrence Police Department. So we did have high visibility patrols, but it was with the effort put forward of saying not just to go out and enforce the law, not just to go out and catch violators, even though the emphasis was on interdicting illegal guns and drugs wherever they found it in that area, but also to engage with the residents and find out how can we improve your quality of life? What are the problems that you're seeing that we can address? Even if it's not a police problem, tell us what you're seeing so that we can refer resources to you. And to that end, we also had a community services effort that followed up on some of the efforts that we had as far as high visibility, to where we offered services that were put together by the Mayor's Office of Public Health and Safety in conjunction with community organizations that have a stake in that area, to be able to help the residents and people who work in that area to get a better quality of life.
Realistically, how much safer are these neighborhoods? I was in two of them after all the law enforcement agencies packed up and went home. And, one woman said, "You ain't be talking to me. They're looking at me. I don't want to get shot." Another neighborhood, walked in near a 42nd Post up there, and I'm a personable guy. And they didn't want anything to do with me. They're like, "Hey, the way to survive out here is look down, keep out of the way, and keep your life." They weren't feeling much safer today.
Right. Well, unfortunately, I think that there's always going to be a fear of retaliation and a fear of saying too much or being too cooperative with folks that you might come back and have a problem with, or they might have a problem with you. We're trying to address that. This is a process. It's not going to be an overnight thing, but one of the things that we do, and we do continue to try, and we will continue trying, is to make those relationships with the people in the neighborhood, to help them feel safer about it, to help them feel less fear of talking with a uniformed police officer for fear that they're snitching, for example, because we know that that's a real thing that's out there as well. And hopefully we can start bridging those gaps and getting people to feel more comfortable with dealing with us, being able to tell us what the issues are that they're seeing. And with all of these efforts, again, just as Mr. Massa said, we're not going away. And I think maybe that might be a fear in the past, that we go through efforts and then you don't see us or hear from us anymore. At least that's the perception. We're going to do everything we can to keep that from happening.
One other point I think that's pretty important on that is, one, perception is the reality of the person that has that perception. And I think one thing that's important on this is that we're there for those exact people who are expressing that concern. They're worried, they're nervous. But that perception comes from the fact they haven't seen everybody else standing with them. This isn't, as you said, the law enforcement at some point, we can't continue to have that heavily of a presence in every neighborhood in our city. But we reach that tipping point where that's not one person saying that's enough. We're not going to tolerate the violence in our community. That's that entire neighborhood saying that's enough. This is not how we want to live. We don't want to live in this fear, and we're going to reinvigorate this community and go through. And we partner and collaborate with that neighborhood to turn that neighborhood and get over that tipping point to where they see they're not alone in saying that that's unacceptable. That's the entire neighborhood saying that's unacceptable. you get that tipping point, you get that synergy in that neighborhood, and then everybody begins to feel safe. You see them sitting on their porches, you see the kids out playing, you see people not afraid to talk to each other walking through the neighborhoods, and that's how you reach that and empower that neighborhood, and that neighborhood gets back to what its true purpose is and how it should be there. And that's, law enforcement can be a facilitator in that and assistance, but it's that neighborhood that drives that and is part of that, and we're there to support them getting their neighborhood back.
Question for Ryan: as these cases and the files move through the system, what hope do the neighbors have of a week from now not seeing these guys back in their neighborhood?
Well, I think the biggest thing to always recognize with something like this is these are ongoing investigations, and these were search warrants, which means that there was a lot of information, there was a lot of investigation that went into getting us up to that point. And so I think it's no secret. I mean, we've been able to develop actionable intelligence from these type of investigations, and I think that's going to help us make our community a safer place down the road. And I think the information that we're going to glean from this investigation, from these search warrants, are going to help us solve additional crimes as we move forward.
Should we assume that a lot of these folks will probably be out on bond awaiting trial in a relatively short period of time?
That's certainly a possibility, but that's dependent upon their criminal history and other factors.
Are any of these cases going to go federal?
It's my understanding that they're going to remain stateside.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your work, Greg.
Ed, good work. Thank you. Always love to work with you.
You too.